Is AI replacing your job, my job, our job as salespeople? Welcome to part two. If you missed the part one, please do check it out on the link in the description. Welcome back, guys. Welcome to another training session. I'm very excited to talk about the second part of this very hot topic that we all worry about, but at the same time, it's the fear we have to face. Is AI taking over our jobs as salespeople in 2025? So, just a quick recap. What AI can already do in sales, lead generate, basic cold calling, and data management. We've established that on the first video or on the first part. Now, just to continue on the topic, this being the part two of the video, I want to talk about data management and how we are actually able to adapt on that with AI being involved with managing your data, organizing your life as a salesperson in terms of your appointments, in terms of your reports. So I want to talk about this. This is a very good topic. So back in the day when there was no AI, we just had our membership manager. And basically, you press F3 and it pulls out your weekly report. You press F4 and it pulls out your quarterly report. You press F5 and you get your revenue report. You get the picture. This is old school. And so now with AI being present, of course, it's great to have AI be so involved with our data management. Essentially, what it does is it makes every salesperson's life easier, practical, and efficient in many ways. So let's talk about this. So first, of course, AI obviously would help you automate your reports. Like I said earlier on, we're no longer pressing F3, F4, F5. Now AI, you can actually ask AI as your secretary or as your assistant to generate the reports that you need in order for you to manage your performance, in order for you to stay motivated, and in order for you to as well understand your direction for the next Q2, Q3, Q4. So it also organizes your life in the sense that it obviously creates your follow-up schedule reports and reminders. So those are the great things about having AI in our life as salespeople. So I've got a few tips that maybe you've already tried or you have never tried yet. So let's dive into it. I've written down a few tips here. So number one, what I recommend is whatever reports you generate from AI or whatever reports that AI generated for you, you want to understand those data and review the data. Of course, yes, AI can perhaps analyze those data for you, but here's the trick. AI does not really know the emotional aspect which us humans do have as another area that we manipulate in many ways if you are doing sales. And when I say manipulate, it's not in a harsh way or anything like that. It's just the nature of what we do as salespeople when emotions or when we tap on some emotional aspect of the business or of the client as we conduct the business. So review the data, but at the same time, understand that every client or every report or every account that you have in your portfolio, there's a lot of emotional parts in there that only you and not the AI is able to review, able to improve, and able to find more opportunities from. So what I recommend as well is understand your follow-up skills level. So let's talk about, since we are in the data management where AI have handed to you your potential business, potential leads, potential accounts. So what you need to really look into as well is your follow-up skills. How well do you, how would you rate yourself in terms of your follow-up skills? And what I mean by rate is, what's the conversion? How was the conversion like for you? Because there's people who can close a sale in one meeting, but there's also salespeople who are not very good with converting follow-up meetings into a sale. And there's many reasons why. It comes down to, or it boils down to the ability of that salesperson to communicate and to connect and reconnect and be able to really close the deal. So this is a very big topic for me because I have also created one podcast a couple of months ago where we talk about following up sales. So do check that out in my playlist if you want to go, if you want to listen, or if you want to hear what I've got to say in a more deep dive version. But for now, let's talk about your follow-up skills. So of course, the only way to know how your follow-up skills is, whether if you're a 5 or an 8 or a 10 or even 2, you would like to understand as well, or you want to know from data management, the conversion rate of yourself closing sales that were followed up. I don't know how detailed your system is at work when you track on your sales performance, but personally, I would go as detailed as sales closed, new sales, referrals, follow-ups, because follow-up sales, being able to follow up and being effective to convert a follow-up meeting into a sale, something you need to also pay attention to if you haven't improved that area. Like I said on part 1 of this video, there's a lot you can improve, there's a lot you can retrain yourself, and the tools are in my channel. So I hope that this is refreshing for you to find my channel. And okay, so success conversion. And of course, you want to understand what areas you need to improve. So let me give you some bonus tips on following up effectively. So when you're doing a follow-up sales call or face-to-face meeting, you have one objective and one objective only: to close the deal. When it's a follow-up sale, you've already met maybe once or maybe twice, and the connection has been set, the rapport is there, you've already perhaps were able to explain maybe 80% or even 100% of all the benefits or features of your product, of your solution, whatever you're selling. And so you're just really trying to close the deal. So one big tip I want to share with you when you're doing a follow-up is to, number 1, rebuild your rapport. Yes, you need to rebuild the rapport. Because let me tell you one thing. When you shook hands with Mr. Smith on your first meeting and he say, "I'll talk to you again," or "I'll speak to you soon," once you both turn your backs, he has a lot of things that he has to worry about and not think about you or your meeting so much. That's why it's a follow-up meeting. That's why he could not make a decision. That's why he needed time to make a decision, whether it's to speak to the wife or to speak to business partners to solidify the decision. Now, one big tip when you're doing a follow-up is to rebuild the rapport. So how do you do that? I personally want to take advantage of the technology. So one of my style as a salesperson, if I'm following up Mr. Smith, I would send him not a text message, I would send him a short video message or a short voice message if you're not comfortable to record your short video. So this is how I'm going to do it. Again, please check as well with your supervisor or your manager, or if this is something that you will be legally allowed to do in terms of your company practices and stuff. But nowadays, if you can send a video message, you can send a text message, you can send a voice message with no issues. So this is what I will do. Again, rebuilding my rapport with Mr. Smith as I follow him up for me to close the sale. I need to close the follow-up sale. I do not want another follow-up meeting to be another follow-up meeting. So what I will do is I will create a short video message. And I need to rebuild my rapport with him. Something like this. Here's my phone, and I'm going to record a video message. Hi, Mr. Smith. It's me again, Majoy. Just want to touch base with you. I understand we have a meeting on Friday at 4 p.m. And I just want to update you again of the savings that we have discussed. There's the 5,000 cap that is allocated for your account. At the same time, all the transferable vouchers will be included once we confirm everything on Friday. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you, look forward to assisting you in 2025 and 2026. Have a good day, Mr. Smith. I'll speak to you on Friday. Bye. So that's an example of my method of rebuilding my rapport, because a text message could not do that for me. There's no emotion. There's no eye contact. My voice, I need to refresh him of how I sound, how I talk. And that for me is also a bit personal. You know, I feel that the sincerity of you as a salesperson, eager to assist your client. A text message could not do that for you. So why not use the technology to really enhance your follow-up skills? So that would be my big tip for you when you're actually improving your follow-up skills. Now, another thing on the list from part 1 of this video series, what AI can take away from us salespeople is cold calling. To a certain extent, we've established that AI or bots can do conversational or very basic conversational cold calling for us. And it makes our life easier. If it's just a simple inquiry, it's just clarifications on areas that is very straightforward that a bot can do for you. More time for you to sell and less time to handle simple inquiries. So I'm going to share with you my bonus tips on cold calling. My background as a salesperson, I would say, is 100% cold calling. I've spent my first, I would say, 15 years in cold calling setting, and then there was eventually face-to-face. And so this is my passion. This is my most favorite type of selling, because there's so much challenges in it, but at the same time, you can really exercise your communication skills and many others. So let me share with you some tips that you might be able to use when you're cold calling and when bots is no longer able to do things for you. So of course, cold calling, the very fundamental challenge, or the biggest challenge, is trust. Is gaining trust, establishing trust, building trust. With cold calling, needless to say, because you don't see each other, your client does not see you, and there's this trust factor that it's a make or break in any cold calling. So gaining trust in the first 5 seconds, that's a challenge. 5 seconds to gain trust. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 tips. Number 1, how do you gain trust in 5 seconds? Your tone. The more jumpy, the more excited, the more over enthusiastic you are, the more you sound like an overstimulated salesperson. So you want to find the balance of using the right tone on your introduction. And I have received so many telemarketing calls myself, and I can tell you that in many occasions I was getting frustrated because the person was not using the right tone, and that already made me politely say, I'm sorry, I'm too busy, or you have to call another person. I'm the wrong person for this invitation. Number 2, your introduction. Your introduction is very critical. You have to have a very good sales coach or a leader or a team lead that you report to, or a sales trainer in your company, because you cannot just use your own words when you're actually introducing yourself on the first 5 minutes. You need to have a very good script, introduction script that has been tried and tested, that sounds professional, sounds natural, but also very attractive. And of course, your catch. Can you imagine you have 5 seconds to use the right tone, make sure you have the best introduction script, and of course, you're able to throw in the catch for the purpose of that call. So what is your catch? Are you selling an insurance plan? Are you providing solution? Are you doing your client, your prospect, a favor for continuing speaking to you on that call? And of course, the 4th one is your purpose of the call. So again, a recap: your tone, your intro, your catch, and your purpose of calling. So all of this should all come together in 3 sentences, and that's 5 seconds, about 5 seconds of your cold calling. So a lot of mistakes. I can spend another hour talking about mistakes in cold calling, but I'll create another podcast episode for that, because there's way too many helpful mistakes. I call it the mistakes that actually teaches us to get better. So another tip I want to give you, if you want to be effective in cold calling, is listen to yourself. What I mean by listen to yourself, nowadays we have the technology. During the time when we were cold calling, there was we had no technology to listen to ourselves. What we had was a sales manager or a program manager or a sales trainer who's on the other line listening or tapping on my call as I do my actual pitch to Mr. Smith. So now what I recommend for you is, whether you're a new in the game or you are a veteran and still seeking to improve your sales skills or your cold calling skills, my advice for you is to record your cold calling or your calls and listen to it. Listen to how you sound. Listen to yourself and really identify the reasons why you can still improve, or identify ways to improve or ways that you need to improve. And of course, I'm sure your companies have recorded calls. Okay, so approach your sales manager as well and ask whether you're able to listen to some of your cold calling recorded calls, so that you're able to really understand. The weirdest thing is to listen to yourself, just like this video. It's always the weirdest thing for me when I listen to my podcast or when I replay my videos when I'm editing. But it's a very good teacher to know that, hey, I can still improve on the way I speak, my tone, my ability to express myself, and really put out the lessons or the teachings that I want to share to my viewers. Of course, when you listen to your recorded cold callings, not only that you know how you sound and all those things, but you also can identify how much coaching do you still require, which areas. And of course, if your manager would say, look, I appreciate that these areas and that areas needs to be polished, so let's go for a week practice and retraining and recoaching on that. And of course, finally, you want to identify the goods and the bad, because that's life. There's always going to be areas that you're good at, and there's going to be areas that you need to improve. And that's the great thing about being in sales.
Wow.
Okay, now, scale up as well on overcoming objections. Why do I talk about overcoming objections in cold calling? Because by the time, from the beginning to the end, it's going to be your prospect's script.
What?
Yes, that is their script. The job of the buyer is to object, and object. And us as salespeople, our job is to overcome that. And if we can overcome an objection or two, we know already that we do not stand the chance to close the sale. So scale up on overcoming objections. This topic, one of my favorites. I wrote scripts, or I've been writing scripts about objections and overcoming objections. And I have a video also that is in the playlist. If this is the topic that really matters to you, do check out my Overcoming Objections playlist in my channel. It's free and it's good. So let's talk about why I recommend that you scale up on your overcoming objections skills. Because obviously, this is not what AI can do for you. This is the part 2 of the part 1 video, where we really dive in and understand what AI can do for you as a salesperson, and what you can do, or what AI can do for you. Overcoming objections, AI cannot do this for us completely. Maybe on the surface, just like basic conversation on cold calling, that's just about it. But overcoming objections, you want to really understand that script matters. A good sales script matters. Selling is only talking. If you're good with talking, or you're a better talker than your colleague or than your competitors, you definitely are making better numbers or making better sales than them. But you're selling the same product, so how is your colleague or your competitor doing better than you? And it's so simple, because the script that he or she uses is far effective than what you're using. You are the script. And if you have a very good script, you can only get better. If you have an okay script, you really have to get better. So script matters. Review your script. As a sales coach, I was redoing or revamping. We call it revamping of the sales script. I revamp our sales script every 3 months. May not be completely changing the whole script, but if our numbers are going down and I listen to the recorded calls and I identify that, okay, the salespeople are using this approach on the first part of your presentation or of the sales presentation, and we're getting a lot of hang-ups, we're getting a lot of objections, or they don't take the calls to the next level, then as a sales coach, I am signaled to figure out my creativity and how do I actually revamp that. So understand that if you do have a sales script, make sure that it's a very good sales script in terms of overcoming objections. And I recommend that you have a direct conversation with your coach and really understand what areas needs to improve. Next one. Your tone and your approach. When you're overcoming objection, the most important thing you need to remember is you are not in the position to be defensive. You are not in the position to object. You are only in the position to apply your convincing power. And if you're able to use your overcoming objection skills using the right tone and the right approach, and your full understanding of who you're selling to and what you're selling based on the strength and weaknesses of your product, your overcoming objection skills should revolve in those aspects. And then, of course, another thing is when you're overcoming objection, you need to know what you're doing next. I've experienced listening to telemarketers or salespeople overcome the objection, and then they get lost in the conversation. And it eventually becomes the ending that you don't want as a salesperson who had exerted your energy, your time. When the client would say, all right, well, I'm the one leading the conversation, so follow me up next month, or let me talk to my wife and I'll get back to you. So you don't want that ending, because you know what's going to happen when the ending becomes like that. So now we've reached our second part, guys. I'm excited because we are now heading to, let me just look. We're still going to go through the last part of this series on what AI can take away from us salespeople and what we can do about it. I'll see you on part 3. Please be active on the comment section. I hope to read your comments, and it also helps me to expand topics that I have in my experience. And so please feel free to join our community as well. If you like the video, please like, and if you want to subscribe and watch more and be part of our community, please. And of course, I'll see you on the next training session. See you guys.